Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about theme and how you can have themes in your application. Take for instance the type of theme you have on your phone or your mobile device. As to maybe you want the dark mode or you want the lighter mode. So how you can toggle between themes, different types of themes. I mean, you can have as much themes as you want to have in your application and also you can just limit it to two. So today I'm going to be limiting to just two. And there's this website I'm going to be referencing, um, making reference to. Um, this guy decided to just write this configuration. I mean, this I would say this source code, so we can make use of it, and it gives an explicit description of how to use it. So I'm going to walk you through the implementation to the end of the project on how you can actually, I believe, when you understand this template, you'll be able to apply it to your individual project. And I believe it's very straightforward. There is no. It's like I said, it's very straightforward. The guy's code, the guy's source code, is explanatory and it's very straightforward. So I would like to get into it now, dive into it. The first thing that I would like to do right now is to create a React application from a template of React application, and then we go from there. So I'm going to open my terminal. Um, I'm going to open my terminal and I'm going to set it to my desktop. Let me bring my terminal here. So I'm going to bring my terminal here. So right now I'm going to set it to desktop. I'm going to create a React application in my desktop. I'm going to use the word npx create React. Now let's call it theme building. So yeah, let's create that now. So it's going to run its course, and we get it from. So the file, the project file will be created on the desktop because I set it to my desktop. So that is why we're going to have it on the desktop. And you can actually set it to any folder in your on your computer you want to save the file to. It depends. That is based on personal preference rather. So you can start to choose any root directory. So when you get to this stage, it says API hacking, then that means you have successfully created the folder, project folder in your on your desktop. So let's set it to the project folder now. We say we call it theme. We call it theme building. So okay, it's saying now that there's no such file. I think we typed it the wrong way. So now that I'm in team builder, I'm gonna open the project. And now that we have the project open, so I can just close this terminal. So here now we have here, right? So now that we have this project, I think it's too wide. Let's make it. So let's open the project and let's see. This one. So now open the terminal in your VS Code and type yarn start, sorry. So that starts the application on the web browser. And now we have the application running perfectly well. So what we need to do right now is let's go back to the where we have that right now. I think by default it went out. So let me just Google that part. Okay, I think I have it here. So now the next thing for us to do right now is, since we already created our application and we started our application already, so the first thing is we need to define our theme, right? So how to define our theme basically is to just create a schema folder, a schema JSON file in our source folder. But before then, we have to create a folder inside of our, no, not the file, sorry. We have to create a folder inside of our source folder. We name the folder theme, and inside of that we create a file called schema.json. So we create a schema file, schema.json file. So this is where we're going to define our themes, okay? This is where we define all the themes. So let's just grab this. And we copy this part because it is JSON file. Paste it here. So now we have a schema file. So after that, the next thing to do is to find a way to store this into the local storage on our web on our computer, on our browser. So how to do that is basically we create another folder inside of our source folder. We create util, call it utils, and inside of the utils we create another a file called storage.json. Sorry, storage.js. So we create a storage file .js, and we'll paste this code in there. So now this code basically what it does is it when we call these functions like this from this function, when we call this function in another component in the application, this function basically what it does is it gets data from our local storage, but we have to have the data in our local storage before we can make reference to the local storage and call it data from there, right? So this first function, sets data into our local storage. So this is the function we're going to call when our application loads to set data into our application. In case we have already an existing theme on our application, so it stores the theme there, and when we call this function calls back the theme. But now that we have a theme here, we have two themes actually. We have lighter mode and Seawave. Maybe I should just change this to dark so it can be very clear to us, okay? So I don't want to have any mix up. So we're gonna call this one dark, okay? So let's change the color scheme here. Let's look for let's try and get some colors on the internet. So we can have a darker mode color. Let's just go to a site that gives us color. Maybe it goes to color palette. So there's a site called color palette. So you can get colors there. I think it's this one if I'm correct. Yeah, this one. So we can get shades of color there. So we can use that in our application. So we can differentiate that we have a lighter mode and a darker mode. So we go to here. Is it trending or? So I would like to choose. Let's say, do we need this? Let's see if we can get something else. Something like that, chocolate. Okay, let's just use this one, okay? Let's copy this one. And let's replace it here with this one. And let's say text. Our text on the dark mode is supposed to be white. We can use white here. Let's use white here. And yeah, FFFFF, or let's just use hexagonal. Let's just use this one. Let's say this. And we got FFFFF, or 3 Fs, whichever way you want it. So, why is it showing me this? Okay. So text is okay. The background for our color, the body is this, and the background blue for that will be our button, right? So let's leave the button background to be blue, and let's leave this. So let's leave everything like that, okay? This is okay. I just needed to make a darker one, and that gives us the darker one we wanted. The color we chose already, that is fine. So we can close that site. And here now, the next thing to do here now is to, once we create it, we have to generate a form. We have to call this function to set it already schema that we have to our local storage. So how do we do that? Let's follow this trend. Here we're going to create. We're going to go to our index.js, which is our root folder or root file, where we have our app.js. So when we go to our index.js, let's save this one first and foremost. When we go to our index.js, we're going to reconfigure this part so that it can accommodate our theme. So the first thing to do here is to import this. To import something, we need to import these two files. Remember that we created these two files in our storage, in our schema. Right? We need to import our schema. We need to import our schema, and we need to import our sets to local storage from our function from our storage. So now we said it. Okay, now let's see what to say. Just saying that it is fine, but it's not used, so we're okay. So the next thing to do, we have to create this function. We create this function. So this function is called. Well, we use variable name to store the function. So it's an anonymous function, an arrow function. So basically what it does is it calls this function and it sets all our themes to the local storage. And remember that we have theme here, which we imported from our schema.json, and we import everything as theme and .default. The default simply means everything in the schema.json is what we should import here. Remember that if you check all our schema, everything we have in here, we are saying to here that we should import everything, and everything must be default. So it's a default import. So now we return our app. Okay. So now we're not returning app here. Do we need to return app here? No. That we return our app here. That's correct. But here, instead of having this here now, all we need to do have here is our index file, as you can see here. So the index file we created here, this one, we're going to now have it here. Instead of app, we're going to have index, because remember that our app file instead of our index file, because that's what we are returning. So it's going to work. It's just basically we can actually do it this way. We can actually leave. I believe we can actually leave our app like this, but we need to call this function, right, when this file loads on this page mount. Okay, so it's best we do it this way. Or as I said, we can do it this way, and all we need to do is to just call this function inside of our app.js, but we don't have to do that. So let's just do it this way, based on the way this guy did it. We can, like I said, that is another alternative that we can do it. We can call this function in our app.js, but let's just follow this conventional way. The guy, this man, already told us to do it. So let's see, let's just follow the trend so that we can get exactly what he got to also. So now we have our index.js. So we don't need. So this one, we're going to cut this one out. I'm going to wrap it around our app.js. Okay, around our app.js. And we can choose to, we can choose not to. It's not a must, but I would want to do it that way. So what I'm going to have now is I'm going to have it this way. I'm going to have everything inside of the brackets, okay, like this. So I think this is good now. So here we're going to have a comma here, otherwise our code is going to break. So now I believe we're good. So now that we have it, so we're good now. So our index.js, once this page mounts, once this index.js mount, which is the root folder, once it mounts, it's going to call this function. It's going to set all our function, all our things in our local storage. If you want to believe me, let's go to our React.js, this one, and let's do something. Let's check it. Let's inspect our local storage. Just go to application. Oh, sorry, application. I meant to say. I meant to type. So when you see it now, you see all the files is in all in our local storage. You can see all things. So these other ones were the things I was working on. So I'm going to delete them because I don't need them right now. I'm going to delete them. So this is what we set in our local storage, right? So perfect. So let's go on. You can close this. So now in our app.js, we're going to do some cleanups. So because we don't need some things here. So like we don't need all this spinning logo and everything. So we're going to take this out. And we're going to take away all this header. Take away all this header. This app. Do we need it? I don't think we need this. So let's take this out. And the only thing we're going to type here, let's just type H1 and that's say theme. We save. And we should be able to see our app rendered. So we have it like that, right? So now there are still other here. We have to take away all this and we just call our global style. I will set it to margin. I will set it to 0. So we're good now. So we can take this away. So now we have things, right? But what we basically want to have here, let's just stick to this for now. So now the next thing we are told here is to what? So now we've checked our local storage and we saw the files in our local storage, so we're good. But the next thing to do now, we need to apply the theme. So how do we apply the theme? We need to wrap our application with ThemeProvider. That way, all the themes are provided in our application, and also we need to use something called GlobalStyling. We need to create all our style inside of a GlobalStyling. So I'm going to show you, and that is from Styled-Component. So we're going to go through it. We'll get to that now. But before that, we need to create a folder again. We need to create under JSON, JavaScript file called use theme. That's where we're going to have all our functionalities. Okay, all the functions. This, in a way, this have a behavior. This particular structure algorithm has a similar behavior with React context, where you have a folder that contains all your logics, and you call each functions that you declare in that React context folder or React context component rather. You now import those functions in another component, and you use context to pull those data or those function or data or variable name into other components for use. Okay, so it has a similar, like almost the same methodology. Okay, so if you understand React context, you understand what this theme and theme structure or theme switching is all about. The concept is based on React context. So here we're going to go to our source folder, and we're going to create inside of our source folder. We're going to go to theme, and inside of theme, we're going to create a new file called use theme.js. So that is where we're going to have all this in there. We'll copy and we'll paste. Okay. So now we have all these files here, right? So we can save this file. But the next thing for us to do now is basically to choose. We want to choose a theme, right? So let me explain all we have here on this page. So basically, what we're set to doing here, in this use theme, we are going to export everything inside of the use theme. So when we call this use theme function, it's going to return to us all these declarations that we have here, because we're going to use all these declarations in other components. So basically, you have a theme. So we have themes, right, in our local storage. So now we need to call that theme from our local storage, right? So we use get method, right? That is get from local storage, which is what we have here on the right side, and we are getting all themes. So when we are doing that, we are using get method to your local storage. All you need to pass in is just the name of that theme. The name, the key property is what you need to pass in, and it's going to return to you the value. So now we're destructuring now here, and basically what we're using use state to set the initial value of our theme, which is the first thing, which is the lights. Remember, we have in our schema we have lights, which is the number, which is the first one in that array, that object is the first one inside of our data is the first child, right? So that is the first one we want to use. So that's why we're calling it here. And we, if you set this one to that, it's going to call the second one. So now this function basically, it's irrelevant, I would say, but it's okay if you want to use it. But if I'm to do it, I'm rather going to use. I'm rather going to not use it if I don't have to use it, because looking at the structure, these use effects. When you call use effects here, we're saying that bring data from local storage, and that is local theme. That means the local theme that we have on the page, the first local theme that we have on the page, which is from here. So when we get that local, then it gets it. So we're saving it in this variable name, and now we are conditioning our application. We say if there's a theme, then set theme to local theme, which is set theme rather to local theme. So what we are saying basically is that we already have an initial local theme, right, which is theme.data.light. But in case that theme that the application already have, when we load that page, we want to set it in our theme. Although it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing, but we just want to be sure that we have it in the theme, okay? Because we're going to use that theme for something else later in the future, later in this project. So now we set it to local theme. Tell our local theme to that. Else, just return what we have already, which is this one. If there's a theme, put it. But if there's no, just return what we have. Okay, guys, so the next thing to do basically is to create a global style. Like I said before, we're going to be having a use for that. And we go to our source folder, and we go inside of our source folder, the theme. We go inside of our theme and we create something called GlobalStyling.js. So we create this file, we call it GlobalStyling.js. But make it Prolar. Okay, let's make it Prolar. Because that's where we have all our global styles. So inside of that, we're going to copy all this. So if you all know how to create style component, this is just basically style components. This is basically style components, okay? So there's nothing here that you don't know already. But when you're creating style component, this is how you create it. You say const. Let's say container now. Say container. I will say it's equals. I will say styled dot, and maybe we say div, okay, and we use backtick. It's the same thing we're doing here. Okay, it's the same thing we're doing here. But here we are not using styled. Okay, now it's shouting. You can just import this one from styled components. Okay, but I don't think. But in this project we didn't install styled components. So now we need to do something. We need to install styled components into our projects, which we don't have, which I believe we don't have in dependency. So we're going to install styled components in our project. We're going to create a new terminal. We're going to say yarn styled components. So we install that, and I believe that in the project there's a place to install this an instruction to install styled components. Let's go down and see if I think we skipped that part. I want to believe we skipped that part. And there's some other things we need to install also. Yeah, I think we skipped that part, which is here. This one, you see? We need to install this one and this one, load that sheet, because we're going to be using it in the project. So those are the things we didn't install. We should have installed at the beginning of the project. So we're going to use all those packages. Even because if we don't install that, we won't be able to create. We need to be able to have access to this global style. We won't be able to have access to it. So we're going to say here also yarn. Hello. Academy. Yeah, not everything. Yeah, so we need to add yarn this one. So we run that. So it will install um, the other two dependencies that we're going to be using in the project, which is web font loader. That is to load font from Google, and Lodash is to. I will show you where we're going to use this Lodash in the application. So now I think we should be good. Let's just close this one while it's running. So now if I install my style component here, now it's styled. Now it's going to give me styled. See? You can actually check out JSON file. See, we have style component now, and we have web fonts loader, and we have Lodash. You see, so that means our installation will work well. But here we need style. So now we have it, right? We have style. Why is it not installing the year? Okay, we can just say here. Say comma styled. So it's going to work now. Okay. But anyway, that's not what we want to do here. So if you understand style component, you'll be able to understand the structure. So we don't need style here because we're not using it in this project. So you can take it away. So now I haven't installed that. So here we already created our global style. So the body of this application, these are the things that's going to happen in the body. We're going to have a background. We're going to have color. We're going to have key. These are keys and they have value. We're going to have fonts, family. We're going to make a transition so that when we're transiting from a particular body to another particular body, there's a seamless flow. Okay, there's a seamless flow. It's not just sharp. So now look at its structure very well. We have theme here. Basically, we are calling a function here. See, anonymous function, another function. We are calling we are equating our body to a function here. And this is a JavaScript. We're having a JavaScript inside of style component. So this is the power. This is the power behind React, which is that these are the powerful things that makes you do, which you can do on a normal application without React. So look at it. We're calling a function. I'm passing in theme. Now theme is being destructured here. Okay, it's being destructured. Okay, from our themes. And we said themes, go to the theme and go to the color. See, this is a theme now. So go to the color and choose what are we choosing from there? We are choosing body. So when you go to the colors, then choose body. And inside of our body, we have what? Look at the color of the body. So it's going to give us that color. And now, look at the body. So when we have anything that we're working on, if it's dark mode, it's going to choose the body color of the dark mode. If it's the light mode, it's going to choose. So now our application is dynamic. It's not static anymore, okay? So the same thing with every other key value, So now, even our A tag, the same thing. Give it a theme, okay? And the text here now, if you go to our theme, our schema, look at the link. The text is fill, right? The opacity is this. So I'm going to do something later on so that you can understand what I'm saying. I'm going to give the link a background color, okay? Or we don't even have to give it the background color because even the text color is going to change, okay? So now let's go on. So that is how we create our global styles, and the button also. The button is going to be this, So the background color of the button is going to be this for button.button. So the background color is going to be this, dynamic, right? The color is going to be this. But now, just watch how we're going to use these variables in our application. So let's go on. So here now we go back to the next thing is to go back to our application, which is app.js. So now we're going to, let's use these things that we have here. So we're going to import, what are we going to import? We're going to install style. I actually imported the style wrong with at the time, but it's okay. We're going to import all these things. So when we copy all these files, these are the things we're going to import that we have already existing in our application. So we're going to import this. And I think we don't actually need this app.css anymore because we are not even using it. So here, we're going to create a container. Let's create a container. Okay, basically we're going to wrap our application in that container. And this is a styled component container. Okay, like I was telling you the other time when I was creating it here, down here, remember when I was creating down here. So now you understand that now. So that's what they're basically doing here also. So the next we're going to create, this is our application now, right? It's a functional application. It's a functional component rather. So inside of it, we're going to create two constants and we're going to manage the states, which is this one. So when we copy this one, we paste it here. So now what is happening here? We are getting theme now from our use theme, which are exported, which are returned by default. So when we call this function anywhere in our application, it returns all these things for us. So we can actually destructure to get those values out, which is what we did here. Okay. So we create a state also. Remember this state. So we created a new state, rather a new theme. Call it selected theme. That means the theme that we select. Okay. So and we pass in the theme here. And remember that the theme also has an initial value, which is this one. Which is this one, right? This is the initial value of it. So here now that's what we're going to have here. Okay. So now we're going to call a use effect now. So when we're calling this use effect, what is it doing? So when this app.js loads, okay, use effect is going to be triggered. And what is it saying? So we are setting our selected theme to the theme that we have already. Okay, even though we put it past it here. So in case our theme light changes to dark, it's going to select it. Basically, the theme that we have at present, it's going to copy it. It's going to set it to our new selected theme. So we're going to call this function here. So that is set, right? And here, actually, it's supposed to be theme, not theme load, because that is what we have. That's what this function, this callback, this use effect function is dependent on theme, because that is what we're passing here, right? To this thing. So when the theme change, because remember that theme is what we pass in here, right? So React already knows that when you call use effect and you want to change this variable it will change depending on the value of this one, if it changes or not. So using this one to configure this function, this thing here, to me, I don't think is logical enough. The best way to do is to put theme here. Well, I'm not saying this guy is not correct. It's also correct. That method too also works. If you put theme loaded here, it will work also. But I feel like since selected theme is dependent on theme, because it's taking the value of theme. So when value of theme changes, then its own value also will change. So we are calling use effect twice here. So this is the second use effect. And what are we saying to happen here in this use effect? Basically, we are saying to React that when this application loads, when this page of the application app.js loads, so get font from Google. That's what this is basically saying. That is where, if you notice this one that we brought in here, and we know that we installed this package, web font loader. So this is where we are using it. So basically, that's just for that other one. So and that's the basic. So you call get font and you get all the font from Google. And now if you check our schema, the only font we are using from Google is just Tino and Ubuntu. Okay, so that is where that will come from. Otherwise, if you don't call this function, it's not going to work. Your application is going to say, I don't know what Ubuntu is or Tino. So after that, we are returning something. Although we are returning just theme here, so let's return what we have here. And there's a configuration here. But what I'm going to say we should do here basically is okay, let's first copy this file. Yeah, we're going to probably customize this to our taste. And here, let's just use React fraction fragment here. So here now, do we really need this? Use target blank without relative no reference. It's a security risk. See, well, let's just put it. So we're just gonna put this one, so we don't get it here. This is React checking our file for us, okay? Making sure we're following the normal nomenclature, normal conventional way of writing. So this way now we're gonna if we save this file, let's check our application. Let's see what we have. So now it's saying to us that module not found, can't resolve styled components in this. So which is out of. So you say you can't restore style components. So um, theme build. So we need to see if we actually install style component very well. So did we install style components? See, it's supposed to be style components. So let's take this out because we installed it the wrong way. So let's go back to application and we say yarn hard styled components. And I believe we're good now. It's compiling. It's compiling, you see. So I believe we're good now. I believe 100% we're good now. So you see, it worked, right? So we have styled components here, which is where it is. Okay, okay. So what we're gonna do here is simple. We're just going to okay, we don't compare, so we need to close this one. So where is it? Let's see start. So let's take this out. And we're safe. So we should be good now. We should be good now. Style components. So now we're good, right? So now this is, you can imagine that the default, like we said earlier on, the default background color is light. This is it, right? So now let's do something. Let's change here, right? Let's change this one, right? Let's change this one. So no. Let's change, if we have local storage, do this, else do this, right? So let's change this one to dark. You see? So now you see, but now how can we even change this information here? You know, so that we can have a toggle. We're gonna see it now. We're gonna see it in action now. Okay. So Control S. So now let's go to app.js. So now we have our application running, right? So let's go back to our instruction where we're getting instruction. So when we change that part, like I said, we get but we need to use something to toggle that state, right? But technically speaking, if you look at this logic here, it said if there's a local theme, then set theme to look at another local theme. Else set theme to this one, right? To this one, right? So that means now because there's no local theme, so it's always setting this to this one. So this logic is going to this is what is going to work here. So this ternary operator that we have here is going to check if there's a local theme. If there's no local theme, it's going to set. If there's local theme, it's going to, because when we get theme, technically speaking, in our application, there is no theme in our local storage. Let's check. We can always check those to see. So if you go to application here, I'll go to local storage. You see that we don't have theme. We only have all themes there. So now, this when use theme is called, use effects is fired here, right? And it says it use this function, this method from get from local storage. Now, theme, there's no theme in local storage, right? So this is going to be empty. And if you want to know if it's going to be empty, we can console log this one to see if it's going to be empty. And but we don't have to go through that stress. It's not going to be empty. Or let's even do something. Let's console log here. Let's console log local thing just to see what we're saying. So now if you go to console, you see undefined, line 22, right? Undefined, because it's not going to give us anything because we don't have local storage yet. We don't have theme rather yet. So but when our application loads, okay, there's not going to be theme, but when we select theme later on, which I'm going to show you later on, when we select that theme, So we're going to have a theme here, another line here called theme. It's going to have values, okay? We're going to have a key here called theme, and it's going to have value, okay? But now we don't have anything there. So the only thing we have here, we have all our themes, right? So let's go on with this. So now, this line is only going to do this. It's not going to do anything here because this is empty. It's going to do this. It's going to return what we have already. So let's go here back. So we save, and let's go to app.js. So now what we need to create a toggle button to toggle between these two themes that we have. So what was the instruction? The instruction was to create a theme card, which is going to serve as a button. So we're going to, we have two themes. We're going to iterate over the themes, and we're going to map it, and we're going to return a theme card. So now, where do we do that? We create const card now, const theme card, now we create this in our app.js, right? But let's read what it says. And let's call each boxes a theme card, right? And set them in a way they can take theme definition as a prop. Okay? And we will go over the themes, look through them, and populate each one with the theme card. Okay? That's what I said. So here we are going to call this function, I believe, inside of where can we call it? Okay, you know what? We're going to create something called another component that we can do all these logics inside. So we're going to go to our source folder. Where is our source folder? Let's close this util. Go to our source folder. I will go to source folder, right? Yes, source folder. But we know we have themes, so we are not doing it here, okay? We are going to create a file called theme selector.js, okay? So inside of that theme selector, this is what we're going to have. This is going to be, because we're going to export it as default, but we need to assign a name to it. So we're going to say export defaults. So we're going to say const, let's say theme selector equals, okay? So this way we're good. So because we're exporting default, right? So we're exporting everything. So this is a function, but we can actually do it this way. With this, so const, and say, you can see cut this one. I will come to the end of this function. I will say export defaults. I will say theme selector. Okay, so it's going to work like this also. So for here, what are we having here? It's a prop. We have to use effect as it means dependency. Update theme card, either include it or remove. So it's saying now that update theme card, which is a state, I believe. Which is a state. Let's just see what is going on here. So this use effect, when this will say props.new theme. So where do we have our new theme? Do we have anything called new theme? Okay, prop.new theme and update theme card. Prop. Anyway, I don't know what this guy is trying to do here, but I think this probably may be irrelevant. Because what we need to use in this theme selector is this theme switch. This is what we need here. But this is the function we're going to call that is going to return going to give us a new, because we are calling this function set mode inside, and this one is going to help us generate a new theme. Because when we call set mode, remember that in our use name we have set mode here, and it's taking in a parameter here, and it sets that parameter into our local storage. So, and calls it a theme. Okay. That's what I was telling you about, that when we're trying to change themes, so we're going to call a function. When we are setting when we are clicking a button to set a theme, to change toggle to between a theme, now this function is going to be called. I'm going to include this method, which is also a function that's going to set to our local storage a new key value pair, which is going to be theme instead of all theme. We already have all theme in it, so we're going to set a theme. So that thing we're going to be calling, which we have this logic here, right? So when we say this function is called, use event is going to be triggered, and we're going to have local theme, and it's going to get this theme now from local storage. When we click on that button, which calls theme switch, I'm going to call this function here. When this use theme is fired, it's triggered, it's called in here. When we call it here, remember we call it here. So when we call it here, we're taking these things out of it, right? But when we call it here, this function also is triggered. This use effect is triggered. Okay? Even though what we're getting back is all this theme and all these variables, but this use effect is going to be triggered because we call the function. I'm going to fetch this theme key from the local storage, and when it sets that key from the local storage, this standard operator is going to be carried out, and if there's a theme, it's going to set our local theme to that. Else, it's going to set, so if there's a local theme rather, which we get from the local storage, it's going to set our theme to that, and that's going to be our theme that we're going to be using. Otherwise, if there's no theme, local storage is going to give us this one back. So basically, that's it. So here now, we're going to have this. So now that we have that, so we update theme card, which is this. Okay, update theme card. That is where we have it, and it's a function also that takes in theme. Okay, and the theme that is taken is from here. It's from here. It's from theme from. Hold on. Let me get it out. Theme from. Okay, yeah, so this is the logic here. It's very confusing, but I'll try to explain as much as I can explain. So what is happening here is that when this theme selector is going to be a component that we are going to call at our index.js. We're going to call it there. So if we go back to this place, let me show you. See, we're going to import selected theme from. Yeah, we're going to call our selected theme. We're going to import our selected theme from this folder where it's contained. And we're going to wrap, when we go to our container, so this is what it's going to look like. But this is going to be inside of app.js. So instead of this one, look at it. Instead of having this, now we're also going to have selected theme inside. See, we're going to have it here. Instead of having all these things, okay, we can see how, but we're going to call selected theme also, which is where the button is. Okay, let me just show it to us so that we can understand what I'm saying in visually. So here now I'm going to call this one in our app.js here, and I'm going to put it here. This one. Call it here inside of the container, mind you guys, inside of the container. So when I save now when I go back to application, you see what we're saying now. So, but instead of this letter thing, let's just take something out. We don't need this, we don't need all this, we don't need this one. Let's save. And also we don't need that lines and all those big borders around. So let's see how we can take that out. So go to theme button. We can take that, we can take border radius. We can take Okay, I think our button is okay. What do we need to, let's just take out the styles from the wrapper. Let's check the wrapper. I think the wrapper is what I have that has all this theme name, that's colors, the body. Okay, I get it. But we really don't need this because it's just to show that this is light, this color here and this color there. But we really don't need it here, so let's just take it out so that we don't have too much complex thing to deal with. So when we do this, we have okay, right? So we need to take something out of the wrapper, which is this one. But before that, let me explain something to you before we delete the wrapper. Delete the style in the wrapper. The style is basically the background color of that wrapper, which is individual. Remember that each theme card represents each theme, right? So when we map through theme card, which is here, see, when we match through themes now, we return theme card, okay? And theme card is already defined up here. So this is theme card, okay? So we return each theme card, and each theme card is going to be the prop, is another component on its own that has this whole thing. This is a theme card, okay, guys? This is a theme card. So, but in the wrapper that wraps the theme card, that's the theme card, we have a background color, which is the background of the theme, okay? And the name also, look, the name of the button is going to carry the name of the theme. See, that's what we have here. So now the color of that theme is what we have here now. See the color and the body. So the background color is going to take the color of the body, which we already have here in our schema. See, color, body, this one, okay? So that's where we get this one from. So, and the color also, we've narrowed down to the color of the text, okay? When you have the color of the text, see? So, and the family, whatever. So, but we don't need all those ones. Like I said, we really don't need that. We just want a simple, button, just a simple button. We can reconfigure the button to our taste. So let's go to wrapper and let's take some things out from the wrapper. Let's take this out. So we have this one now, right, guys? So now the lights now, I want it to have, okay, let's Command Z. Border. I want to do something so that it's going to be easier for us. I want to say that each button, okay, let's take this out. Let's cut this one out. Right? So I say each button now, where's the button? We have theme button now, right? And we say display, okay. I want to give it the color. What is the color? Border radius. So theme button. Let's go to theme button now. Theme button, which is this one. Now it has a style, and the background color of that style of the theme button. This is it. Take the background, the button of background, because our button initially we already gave it. Say this button has a background and it has a text color, so we're giving it here. That's what we're giving here, okay? But now what I want to be the background of this it's going to be the background of that thing. I want it to be. I want the background to be white. I want the background to be white, right? So this is what I'm going to do here. Okay, I'm supposed to be here. Sorry. So the background now to be white, right? To be white, but the background color of the light. The background color of the light now. I want the background color to be white. And there's a reason why, so that we can have it. See, I want it to be white. Okay? And I want the text to be Command Z. I want the text to be black and to be white. So this is what I mean to say. This is what I want to do. This one. I want this to be white. You can understand what I'm trying to do now. It's just a style. This is just a style preference, okay? So this is what I want. And for the darker mode, I want the background, I want the text, I want the background to be dark and the text to be white. I want it to be 070707. I want the text to be white. Okay, the text to be white. So this is what I want. If I save, so this is what I want, right? Okay, well we can't see the light, right? So what I'm going to do there is when I go back to this place, I'm going to give them a border radius, a border width, and all that. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to say theme button. If I give it this style and I save, this is what I want. Okay, guys. So this is what I already achieved. This is perfectly what I want. So now we can know that this is light and this is dark. So now that we've achieved that here, so what's going to happen again now? What do we want to do? So when we click this button, see, when we click, where's the button? So inside of this place, when we click this button, once it's going to take in a theme, and it's going to do this. It's going to theme switch. It's going to call this function theme switch. And what is our theme switch? And it's going to say prop. And now our theme card takes in a prop. So when we call our theme card here, we're already passing props here, right? And the theme already have this prop that we passed in theme. So each theme now we have access to the data of the theme. Now you can try to write it different. I'm going to write this one now. I'm going to say something. I'm going to say here. Okay. What if we console log theme? We console log theme here. Console log theme here. Why are we having? Oh, okay. Sorry. I know why this is happening. Shoot. And here we can have this. So we should be good now. And theme here. Okay, guys, I'm just trying to get where we have this error. So this one is the last one, and this one, and this map is this one, and this one is this one. So why do we still have errors? Okay, now we're good. Return. Let's just say you know what? Just to review so we say this so that we can take away that error. So now we have this. I want you to see the console. I want you also to be able to see the themes now, so that I can write this line 92 in a different way. So look at it. So if I refresh, see, theme. So when it loops through themes, themes is an array of two themes, right? Themes is an array of two themes, right? Of theme light and theme dark. So this is why it's returning this on that, because it's mapping twice. So now, inside of this theme, there's a data, okay? There's a data, but technically speaking, let's say theme.data. Let's see what we're going to get. Undefined, okay. But the thing is, we need to, let's type data here. Are we going to get a data? Yes, this is it. So now we're getting back a data, right? Which is this thing. So now each theme has, say, light and dark, right? Like that, I don't mind this double, this 4 times. It's just the console is behaving. So we have 2, right? And the first one, So we have data now. We have inside of a team, and each team. So if you say data.light and data.dark, but see, if you say data dot if you say the first data, what are we going to get? Undefined. Say dot light is going to, but that is how. What if we don't know the data dot light? You see, but what if we don't know the data dot light? You know. So what if we say data and team? Okay, now I think I understand what's going on here. So we'll have, see, this is it, okay? We have light and dark, right? Light and dark. So the data now, we have to pass in theme, right? So this theme, so now we are using, instead of me writing a 0 here, which is going to work, okay? So we are using the index of that theme. So even if you do something here, let's say here, you say, okay, I will pass that indices here, this one. Sorry, pass this one. Yeah, I'm just trying to try many things, okay? So C, undefined. So now I'm trying to use the index of that data, of that theme, to pass it here. So which is what it did, which is what this guy did here. So it passed in theme. So, and if you remember our schema, okay, I think the way it did it is correct actually. If you check our schema here, let's check our schema here. We have data, right? And we have, inside of data, we have two objects. This is one object, and this is the another object, right? So now, the index they are using, this index is using, the data is using, is using a string as an index here. So index of 0 is light. So if you use that index, if you use that light as an index, you're going to be able to get the first index. So here now, the first index here, we're just going to pass in the theme. So the thing is going to give us the index, whichever index we have. So when we map through the themes, we have two themes inside, right? So we say each theme return the properties of that theme, the data in that theme. So now we want to get in data. We know we have two themes inside of data. So if we use the name of the theme of the first theme and the second theme to pass in as the index of that theme, of that data, we're going to be able to get the property back, which is what it was done here. So that's why we have theme here, we have data with the theme here as an index. So now I think that explains this line 91 for us, okay? So if we save that and refresh our page, let's clear the console. So we have that. So now what I'm going to do basically now is, if I click on everything, so if I click, now there's a click function on this, and it said takes in the theme, because this theme card now will pass in this prop. So when I click on it, if I click on that theme card, I want to get the theme in that theme card that will pass in, which is data at the index of theme. Okay, so and we're already passing the prop here, right? So when we destructure the prop, it's going to be prop.theme.name. So when we click on here, now we're saying you take in the theme, right? It takes in an argument, so a parameter. And we'll call this theme switch. So we pass in that parameter that it takes, which is prop.theme. So here we can actually write prop.theme here too, but this one is just a placeholder, okay? It doesn't really necessarily matter anything. So it's going to take in prop.theme now, which is what we are supplying to this theme switch. So when we call this theme switch up here, we pass in prop.theme, see, selected theme. So we pass in that prop.theme, which is selected theme. I'm going to console log the, let's take this out so we don't have to console log anything. And here, set that mode. Now, when we call selected theme, we call set mode method from our use theme. Okay, we now pass in the selected theme, which is prop.theme. So when we do that, it's going to go into this place and it's going to supply this one, prop.theme. I'm going to set that prop.theme to our local storage. Okay, that is the logic. So when we save here now, if we save this, let's open our local storage. So you're going to see it now in real life. You're going to see it in real life. So here, look at what is happening. We only have themes here now, right? If I click on light, see, theme is generated, right? Theme is generated, right? If I click on dark, it's going to change the browser theme. And you're going to see our theme now is now what is now dark mode. See, here, Ubuntu, and is what is dark. Okay? So if I go back to theme light, see, theme dark, see, theme light, see. But when we are in dark, I realize that my dark now, I can't see the line, the borderline that I gave to it. So if I go back to this place and I go back to this one, now I want to configure this color to be this color. I want to give it this color. Let's say if it's dark, then give me text, use the text color. And if it's light, use the text color, okay? So this is what I'm gonna do here. It's simple. Remember that we already styled something before that we use GXX inside of style. So let's check where we did that, which is here, which is a global variable. See how we did it here. So we can copy this function, this method here. We can copy this one and we use it here. So we want to configure where? We want to configure this one. So we can say here, border, and we can set it to this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take theme, right? Theme dot, what do we want? Theme now, right? Dot colors dot button dot text. Theme dot color dot button dot text. Theme dot color button dot text dot text. So this is going to work here, right? So it's going to be, let's call this out. We call it out. So here, instead of having this one, we're going to paste this one. Okay? You see? Perfect. We get it right. So this is the behavior I want to achieve. So if you click this one, you see, it has its own different line. This also has its own different, they're not the same. So it's dynamic. Okay? So which is perfect. And look at this link here. It's changing. The links is changing. See. Okay, let's change this here. Instead of using teal, why don't we use gray? And if we change from to dark, it's blue to light. Okay. Why are we not having gray? Let's refresh our page. It's still gray. Okay. Let's check the link then, if that's the case. Let's check the link. The link here, let's check the link. So the link, oh no. Let's go to app.js. Let's check the link. So the link now, what are we giving the link now? So that means our link is not changing, if that's the case. So we want to give this link a color. So how can we give that link a color? It's very simple. So we're going to say style. We're going to say style now. So you say style. Style. I will say this. I will say color. So we're going to say theme, right? Dot colors. If I'm correct. Dot. Let's just check so that we don't get it up. So we're going to say theme. Let's say theme dot colors dot link dot text. Theme dot color dot link dot text. Theme dot color dot link dot text. So let's check again. Theme dot colors dot link dot text. So if we go back here and if we save, I believe this should work. So if we refresh, go to dark, go here. You see, it changes, right? So if we go back also, okay, for us to know, let's change this to red. Let's change this to red. So refresh. Go to dark and go to light. We have red. You see, so this is how you can dynamically change the color on your application with just the schema and with this global style. So that's where we have everything. See, link, we said color. We already said theme.color.link.text, you see. But really, we already did it. So why is it not working here? Why do we have to do it here again? So I want to know why it's not working. Because we already say that our link should take this color. So why is it not taking? Let me refresh. Let me go to this. Let's go to this. So it's working now, but before it wasn't working. But I don't know, maybe it was just a glitch of the internet. So because we already said in our global style, our link should take this, and our button should take this. So the background, of course, we didn't really use most of the things here because background color we didn't use it, right? We took it out afterwards. We took it out. So you see how you can use your schema and your global style to actually make a good thing for yourself. You see. So I hope this tutorial is helpful. If you have any questions as regards to the implementation of this wonderful guy here, which has done a great work for us here that we're using right now. If there's any issue and you think you're not understanding a part of the video, please shoot me a text or leave a comment to this video, and I will respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you some other time. Thank you so much.